Yeah?
I was wondering if you or your husband have any time today to speak with me for a little bit.
If you want to just go ahead and tell us your story right now, I'll record it and put it on YouTube.
Sure, that would be fine.
Okay, go right ahead.
I do believe it's significant. Is your husband Rudy right there too, so he can hear?
Nope, but I'll play the recording for him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just watched a YouTube video with him. He was talking about basically the prison ministry.
Yep.
Well, let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I'm from Wisconsin originally. I'm 48 years old. My real name is Greg Allen Skomaroske. I moved to Missouri in January of this last year, and I immediately started having indications that I was being either investigated or harassed by law enforcement and the medical care providers. I come from Wisconsin, where I accused the state of Wisconsin's doctors and the government of committing genocide against disabled people and elderly people. They were exposing people to MRSA bacteria and then giving them less than adequate amounts of antibiotics. I've had a recording device myself for the last several years, and I've contacted the FBI back on November 11th of 2010, and I went to report this to them with information that I had recorded. I had recorded different employees at a nursing home where my girlfriend worked. They were telling me that this exposure to MRSA was intentional. My girlfriend was disabled, and she was also tricked and forced into cleaning up MRSA at this nursing home, even though she had failed the testing for the bloodborne pathogen. After reporting this to the FBI and after suing the nursing home, the FBI had the local police in Phillips, Wisconsin come after me in such a manner, and even before I reported it, where they stole my house, they separated me from my girlfriend of 14 years. They took me off my pain medications. They started illegally drugging me about 2 weeks later when I went to the emergency room. They then drugged me 4 different times in 30 hours, and they had the police beat me up and torture me. I was put in a mental health facility for 5 weeks, and they started telling people that I was delusional. And I've never had any mental health problems my entire life. Now, when I'm talking to you here, Erin, can you hear the static in the background?
Yes, sir.
Is that a common occurrence for you?
No.
I believe that they're messing with my phone in such a manner as to stop me from being able to articulate myself.
Well, you're doing a fine job.
I've gotten lots of practice. I just got off the phone with it would be like a chief officer out of St. Louis that I asked him if they knew of anybody here in Missouri, like at the Department of Justice, the Attorney General, or even the Office of Inspector General, that I could speak to have my situation looked into. Yesterday, I was on the phone with the victims of torture. In the last week, I've been on the phone with the Office of Human Rights Commission. I've been in contact with the ACLU, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch out of New York, Inspector General of the United States, the Attorney General, also the FBI in both Wisconsin and Missouri, as well as with Washington. And what I know is going on is pretty much what your husband said, linking this corruption, the Department of Justice and the FBI. FBI. I believe that what I came across in Wisconsin was a plan by our government to commit a massive genocide using MRSA bacteria and then denying people adequate amounts of antibiotics. They'd exposed both me and my girlfriend to MRSA like this, and we started getting infections repeatedly. And the doctors were doing stuff to us that I recorded with a digital recording device. I have had stuff come up missing off of my computer. I've had stuff come up altered on my computer. When I reported this to the FBI, they knew about what was going on before, during, and after I was brought up on 3 completely false and fraudulent felony charges. I was looking at 19 years in prison for assaulting the police because I had bit an officer's hand and pinched another one's leg when they were suffocating me. I believe the reason why that this my phone is getting staticky like this is because there's a law that says that recordings can't be used in federal court if they are staticky or interrupted at all. About 2 weeks ago, I called the Office of Inspector General, and they were intentionally making the phone get staticky and even knocking on the phone. And I can give you guys that recording so you guys can hear it. But it's very clear that they were doing it on purpose. Now, that's the agency that oversees the FBI as well as the Department of Justice. And I believe they answer directly to Congress. Because I'm disabled, I am disabled with nerve damage and bone erosion. I started looking into why I was disabled about 18 years ago. And I realized that they were doing illegal medical experiments on me. I can see these in my medical records where when I was 15 years old, they told me I had a brain tumor. They removed my pituitary gland, and then they left me untreated for high uric acid and low testosterone over the next 21 years. All while they tested me, all while they didn't tell me what was wrong with me, all while I also reported that I was having nerve damage or nerve pain. I was found to be disabled when I was 21 years old. And as I think I might have said, I'm 48 years old right now. But 21 days after I was found to be disabled, on June 29th of 1991, I was illegally drugged when I was out at a dance hall one night. I was subsequently brought up on reckless endangerment charges when I took somebody else's vehicle, and I ended up outrunning the police. I was sent to prison knowing that somebody had drugged me, but without anything. I didn't find out that I was found to be disabled for 21 days earlier for another 16 years. After I put all this stuff together, I realized that they've been targeting me my whole entire adult life, and I have a felony, reckless endangerment, when I was 21 that I'm not guilty of. And in the year 2011, in January, they brought me up on 3 felonies after they also drugged me, which was about 20 years difference between the first time they drugged me. When I went to court in 2013, I had fought these charges. I was denied an attorney. I was forced to represent myself after they gave me 7 different public defenders, all of whom did not want to help me. After I was found to be guilty, I went to court to get sentenced on December 19th of 2013. And when I went to court, I stopped in the clerk of court's office and I got the courtroom exhibits. And I could see where they forged these courtroom exhibits by putting a black fuzzy box over the area that showed the police suffocating. When I was at trial, the police denied suffocating, and I didn't know that they had forged the courtroom exhibits. Those exhibits were passed forward by my own standby public defender legal counsel, who had dismissed himself 10 minutes before my trial started.
He did what? He did what 10 minutes before?
He dismissed himself.
Oh.
So here I'm looking at a trial facing 19 years, actually 2 different trials, facing 19 years, and he dismissed himself 10 minutes before my trial when I didn't have any documents, I wasn't prepared. And the judge, Ann Knoxbauer, she had let that go forward. And after all of this was done, I discovered the forged courtroom exhibits that I also asked to use for my second trial, and this judge had denied me access to them. She said I couldn't use them because they were sitting across the hall in the clerk of court's office, and she knew that if I got a hold of those, that I would know they were forged exhibits.
Huh. That's interesting.
So the judge, the prosecutor, and 7 different public defenders in the state of Wisconsin in Price County all took part in forging courtroom exhibits, all while the FBI and the Department of Justice also knew about it. And they all seem to think this is perfectly fine to do because they've been doing stuff to me for the last, well, it's going on about 32 years now.
Oh, my Lord.
I believe they put me on a terror watch list illegitimately. I believe that they were giving me nerve damage and bone erosion ever since I had that surgery when I was 15 years old. Like I said, they were testing me. They knew what was wrong with me. Every time they tested me, it was coming back either positive, high uric acid, or low testosterone. So I not only had weak bones from the low testosterone, I had the uric acid chewing on my bones. Now I have bone erosion and nerve damage, and I'm going to the doctors, and they're giving me a runaround where they're canceling and dismissing me as a patient. They're lying in my medical records. They're even trying to commit fraud in my medical records to try and say that I'm not disabled. What I mean by that is how when I was at the Mayo Clinic in 2010, they had taken an old x-ray machine and took pictures of my back. I have a broken back. I have a compression fracture in my lower back. And they thought that they were going to eliminate the MRI results by taking an old x-ray machine pictures of my back with the old machine. Well, I spoke to an x-ray technician, and they said there's no legitimacy to that at all. So they're not only committing fraud in my medical records, they're also committing fraud in my criminal records. And this is systemic throughout the local police, the FBI, the Department of Justice, the Office of the Inspector General. And I believe with the laws that I see that they've created for the FISA court, as well as the National Defense Authorization Act, as well as the Patriot Act, I believe that the federal judges are the ones that are allowing the prosecutors, the Office of Inspector General, the Department of Justice, the FBI, to all get away with doing this to people. So when I see these other cases like Jeffrey Winehouse, Aper Cox, I know why those people are in prison. I know that this is systemic. I believe that if you take a look at 9/11, I believe that that was a coup d'etat, which is a hostile takeover of our government by our military on 9/11. I've read different news articles that said that the military is willing to stand behind the judges in whatever decisions they make. So idea of what you guys are up against, as well as myself, when we're fighting this level of corruption. So it's my understanding that what happened on 9/11 was covered up by the FBI, and that it was done by our military and our government. I have done enough research to know that I can prove that fact. I believe a military sent a missile into the Pentagon, and that they used thermite as well as advanced weaponry to take down the Twin Towers. They all came down as a demolition. Building 1, 2, and 7. They were all demolitions. Buildings just don't come down like that, and aluminum planes just don't fly through steel-structured buildings like they tried to show on TV.
Right.
So with this all being at issue, I started looking at our elderly population and how they targeted the people at the nursing home with MRSA, where my girlfriend worked. And I start thinking that they're the generation of the baby boomers. And it's my understanding that there's going to be about 100 million baby boomers and disabled people that are going to be on Social Security retirement or disability benefits over the next 17 years. And when you consider that many people on retirement and benefits, compared to the number of people that are working in this country, and now with the reported trillions of dollars missing, I think that it gives light into what our military did on 9/11 and why they did it. And also how they're going to try to handle it as far as people in the country like myself who are disabled or who are otherwise receiving benefits. I don't know if Jeffrey Winehouse was on disability or anything like that. But I've noticed that several of the people that I've seen targeted were either people that had financial assets or they were getting benefits. And that this was just one of the reasons. Also, like how Schaefer Cox was targeted because he was outspoken and he knew what was going on. And he also advocated others to, form a group of people to speak out against this level of corruption that's going on in our government. So, with me coming here to Missouri, I believe that I was actually tricked into coming to the location where I'm currently living. I bought a camper in the end of January and beginning of February this last year, and I put an ad on the paper on Craigslist for a place to rent on a farm. I immediately got a result within 90 minutes, and I've been living here ever since. And the people that live here, I believe, are the guy that owns the property is a young guy, and I believe that he has been sent to do this as a subcontractor by the FBI or the Department of Justice, where they are trying to cause me grief. They're making rude remarks, but also where they're trying to prove that I'm not disabled when I really am.
Okay, let me ask you this question. A lot of our listeners will want to know if you're a Christian or not.
Yes, I am. I'm a believer. I don't like that word Christian because I've seen so many. I've talked to over 50 different ministers and 50 different news agencies, and I had a video of the police suffocating me and torturing me, and not a one of them would look at it.
I understand that. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm a believer. I believe in God and Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit. But there's a lot of people that they use that like on their sleeve.
Yeah, I
and
understand.
they're not serious about it, like to where they're willing to stick up for other people and speak out like you and your husband are doing.
Okay.
I'm just like you. I'm not afraid to speak out.
If somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that? Is there an email or a website or somewhere that you point people to?
I don't have a website. I have a phone number and I have an email.
Okay, why don't you share your email with people who want to reach out to you? Okay,
my email is G as in Greg, S as in Skomaroske, 853640 @gmail.com. Once again, that's GS853640 @gmail.com. My telephone number is 608-218-4610. So if anybody wants to get a hold of me, they can call. That's my computer number. They've actually shut down my SafeLink phone.
Right.
Which they also did in Wisconsin as well.
All right. And do you have any specific plans in the future that you need prayers and support for?
Well, I believe that they're trying to put me in prison, and I don't have any friends or family left no more. They've isolated me. So if they even put me in prison for a week or two, or in jail, I believe that they could confiscate my property and all my belongings. I see different options on how they could do this to me, and it worries me. So
well, don't give them any ideas.
Well, they already know. The ideas I have is what I see them already setting it up for. Yeah. So I used to have a girlfriend of 14 years who was told that I was delusional. I've never had mental health problems my entire life. I've built my own house. I've had several of my own businesses. And I've never taken medicine or anything like that. But right around the same time that I realized that they were doing illegal medical experiments on me, I also realized that they were doing stuff to my girlfriend. I tried to tell my mother and my father about this, as well as my brother. And my brother and father have a business in my hometown where they have the police for customers. And they were highly manipulated the day before and the day after I was illegally drugged and beat up and suffocated by the police. They had drugged me 4 different times in 30 hours in such a manner as they compartmentalized it, and they didn't write down what I was drugged with. And the last time they drugged me, I'd gotten out of the vehicle, I walked to the hospital, I went through the doorway, and there was 5 officers standing there, and there was 2 behind me, and all 7 of them started punching me.
Wow.
They punched my head over 50 times, and then they dragged me in the building, and they had me illegally drugged again for the 4th and final time.
Do you have that court video of the assault on you?
I have the videotapes, but what they did is they used proprietary software where I have to call up on the internet and get their okay to look at it. But what I did do is I took pictures of them suffocating me, and I also got original copies of the courtroom exhibits that shows how they forged the courtroom exhibits. Now, about a year after they found me guilty, I put an appeal into the judge and asked her to dismiss the charges for fraud upon the court by officers of the court. And she came back and said that I did not substantiate my claim. And then she copied the pictures with a black and white photocopy machine. So that nobody could see. But I do have the pictures, and I can send them to you. And you can clearly see how they forged it.
Yeah. Well, I don't doubt it. Can you, yeah, that would be good if you could send us the photographs, too.
Well, it just, it's important to point out that the Department of Justice and the FBI in both Washington and Wisconsin, they knew about this, as well as the Office of Inspector General, and nobody looked into it.
Yeah.
And, this happened back in 2011. I fought it for almost 3 years. I was found guilty. I was on probation for 4 years up until December of last year. And after I was off probation, I left Wisconsin. I figured I could come to Missouri, where I had a friend here, and I figured I could start a different life, a new life. And then I realized that I was still being targeted.
Yeah.
In fact,
are you in touch with other targeted individuals in the country?
About 5 years ago, I met a handful of people who were either claiming to be TIs, or they were claiming to have people in prison, or they wanted to be my friend. And to this day, I suspect at least 4 of them were people that were sent to me to try to get information on me.
Yeah.
2 of them are overseas. There's a program called Five Eyes. Are you aware of it?
No.
There's a program called Five Eyes where they share data with other countries. And what they basically do is they try to get somebody else to bring you into different conversations. And because it's of an international communications, there is a lessened, heightened standard of privacy.
Right.
So they can record all that, and then when they record it as metadata, they then can go over it, and then they plan on using that against people in court.
Right.
I've had certain people within law enforcement, as well as in also government offices, tell me different things about what to look out for. And so I knew that some of this was going to be happening. I just didn't know to what extent. Even the friend that I had down here in Missouri, I no sooner got here and she was leaving a few months later. And I believe that she could have possibly been sent to bring me here, where they now have a law for the year of 2018 where landlords can discriminate against disabled people. So I believe they're going to be putting disabled people in prison, using different states where they force a person out of one state into another, where they have special laws that are completely illegitimate on the federal level, but they've been passed on the state level, and they just lose funding, but yet then they receive more funding in other areas.
Yeah.
I was in touch with the congressman's office yesterday, and they're going to be sending me a complaint form to sign, and I was going to be speaking to them in the next few weeks or so, and I was going to let them know what's going on, and I believe that that office is possibly involved with doing some of this. I know for a fact the FBI is, the Department of Justice, the Marshal Service, the federal judges, and then there's indication now that it's the congressmen that are doing this as well. If you've seen any of the new stuff on the FISA warrants and the Russian collusion with Trump, have you seen any of the House committees or Congress? They have videos of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I've seen different videos that shows that congressmen, they were given the FBI extrajudicial power to do all kinds of different things under the Patriot Act, which they knew was completely illegal.
Yeah.
Such as breaking into people's houses.
Yeah. There's an article, I was trying to find it, but I can't find it at this moment, about euthanizing, this is from in Canada. If you
I've seen it.
Yeah. I just saw it yesterday and I can't find it right now, but they kind of are ahead of us a little bit in their socialism and socialized euthanasia, I guess. I don't know what you call that.
It is euthanization. There's eugenics, which is against disabled people. They want to sterilize them. And then there's euthanasia, which is killing people, mainly elderly people or the sick. What our government is doing is they're doing exactly what Hitler did. And I believe that if you look closely at World War II, you'll see that Hitler, Japan, China, the United States, that they were all involved in a genocide. They had killed nearly 100 million people in that war. And when you go around carpet bombing a country, the civilians, I don't care what anybody says, that can't be interpreted anything but genocide.
Yeah.
They also, when they bombed Japan with the atom bomb, they didn't bomb soldiers. They bombed women and children.
Yeah.
And they also did it in Germany in a town called Dresden, where they almost killed as many people in Dresden as they did in Japan. And those were all children and women because the military men were away at war. So this was the United States, supposedly the good guys doing this. Well, if you trace that back, that's about 70 years ago. And it's my understanding that they refinance the national debt every 70 years. And if you go back 70 years prior to World War II, it brings us to the Civil War. It's also my understanding that when we had the Civil War, that it really wasn't over slavery, that it was actually over property rights, and that Abraham Lincoln wanted the South to have the Southern people give up their titles of their land for the national debt as security.
Yep.
It's my understanding that every 70 years they refinance the national debt, which could be explaining what we're doing right now, where they're collapsing the dollar. And this is all being done, motivated by financial, as well as like when we went to Iraq. When we went into Iraq, the dinar was at $3.40. At the height of the war, it went down to 10 cents. When the United States had a law passed that said that anybody in America could donate or invest in their country. And then suddenly we had about $10 trillion come up missing on the Federal Reserve. And I believe they divested a majority of that money through Belgium into Iraq. And now it's back up to 80 cents, which means that for $10 trillion, we would have turned 10 trillion into 80 trillion.
Yeah.
And they expect that dinar to go back up to $3.40 eventually.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why we killed over 1 million people in that area. And that's not acceptable to me.
I understand. I agree. I hear Dresden coming up quite a lot lately, and I think people are understanding about Lincoln and the Civil War and states' rights, and I understand.
Well, the only reason I'm as educated as I am is because I'm disabled and I don't have a TV, and I spend a lot of time on the internet research, looking into things.
Yep. Well, God has a plan. We read the last chapter, we know. And I think your case is really interesting, and we'll upload it to YouTube today. And what would you like to have as the thumbnail? Would you like a picture of yourself with your email address for people to contact you, or what do you have in mind?
I wasn't having anything in mind, really. I mainly called I wanted to inform you guys about what I know and add it to what you guys already know. I seen your video of your husband, and he was already so far along with the FBI, which is, most people don't understand that it's the highest levels of our government that are doing this.
Yeah, most of our the people that listen to the audios on our channel, most of them understand that.
Well, I went to 50 different ministers and news agencies, 50 of each.
Well, it's because they're full of fear.
Right.
We've got to break down the fear. It's just fear porn everywhere. So,
Well,
I see on my Facebook that you sent me a friend request. I'll accept that, and then I'll just use your profile picture probably for the thumbnail on here with your email. And if you want, I can put your phone number, but it's up to you.
yeah, you can leave my phone number.
Okay. All right, I'll do that, Greg, and we will definitely keep you in our prayers. I don't think anything that you've said has been shocking to anyone that's listening right now. The MRSA thing I had not heard before, but that's just another piece of the big puzzle that adds up.
When you look at the MRSA thing, Erin, they've let MRSA spread across this entire country over the last 15, 20 years. And what's very significant about this is that when somebody has MRSA, it gives off the same symptoms as if it's Ebola. And they also have the same death protocol where they double bag somebody and they don't do an autopsy. So they could eventually say that we were contaminated with Ebola, but in fact, it's actually MRSA, and the CDC let it happen, and they're not even keeping track of all the people that have this fatal and contagious disease that lays dormant in the body sometimes for decades or even indefinitely for some people. It's my understanding that 2/3 of the population can become susceptible to MRSA, and that there is 1/3 that's naturally immune to it or they've been vaccinated. It's about 15 to 20 years ago, I don't know if you remember, but there was a group of firefighters, police, healthcare workers, military, and government workers. They were all vaccinated with something that the rest of us didn't get.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Well, if you know anything about vaccinations, the people that don't get it, obviously they can get something that the other people can't. And I believe that this has been manufactured, created. It's bioweapon.
Yeah. Well, that wouldn't surprise me.
Now, if you know what doctors are currently saying about antibiotics, they're trying to say during this period when we just had the first person die in this country of a bacteria that was completely resistant to all antibiotics.
Mm-hmm.
They died on January 17th of last year, and it was out in Pennsylvania. They quarantined the person, and, well, if they're going to give out less than adequate amounts of antibiotics or give out no antibiotics, that's going to cause people to die of these infections. And when you have a MRSA infection, you should know it because it's very painful.
Yeah. I understand. So, have you looked into copper? Copper water.
You're talking about colloidal silver?
Actually, I have heard that copper water at the nano level is even more effective at killing AIDS virus and curing cancer, all that kind of stuff. I've heard that is even more effective than silver. Copper.
I haven't heard that, but that's interesting.
Okay, well, there is a website if you want to find out more about copper water. It's called wateroz.com. It's
okay.
wateroz.com.
Now, it's important to point out, Erin, that I don't think I currently have MRSA.
Good.
What I believe they were trying to do was give me and my girlfriend less than adequate amounts of antibiotics of the penicillin line so as to create superbug infections, because if you don't kill the bacteria, it can mutate and come back stronger.
Right. No,
Well,
that makes sense.
well, I recorded different things they were doing with my girlfriend, and they were, according to one doctor's words, they were doing the worst possible thing to harm her.
Oh.
Now, I haven't talked to my girlfriend since 2 days after Christmas in 2010. I stopped talking to my family throughout this whole process, and the last person I talked to was my brother. He had showed up late to my trial as my only witness.
Oh, great.
Yeah. I think he was told to do that.
Well, just keep this in mind, okay, Brother Greg? This is as close to hell as believers will ever get, and this is as close to heaven as those reprobates listening right now will ever get.
Yes, I do believe they're listening, too. And I use that word as well, reprobate.
Yeah, it's in the Bible.
I remember telling my brother, Erin, I said to my brother, I said,
Please.
in the Bible, Brian, I said it says that the member of a person's own family will be their worst enemies in times of trouble.
Yep.
And I said to him, I said, that hasn't played out as true with you.
Yet.
Well, it was just a few weeks later he went on vacation out to Vegas when they decided to separate me and my girlfriend of 14 years.
Oh, man.
And they've tried to say a bunch of bad things about me, Erin. They tried to say that I was abusing my girlfriend. They've tried to say that I was addicted to drugs, which I've never been. I loved my girlfriend very much. They tried to say I was mentally ill. And none of this stuff is true, but people have a tendency to believe it because they know it works.
Yeah. The conviction factory is the mainstream media.
Yes, ain't that something?
Yeah, they're the biggest terrorists in the country, or the world, the media.
I would say it's the FBI making the media do it. The FBI and the CIA.
Yeah. They all work together. It's Satan.
Right. You know about Operation Mockingbird?
Yeah.
You know about Operation Northwood?
Yeah, a little bit.
That was where they had planned to fly planes into buildings in Florida and create a false flag and tell everybody that it was Castro.
Yeah.
That was back in the 60s.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just absolute hell here on earth for many, many Christians and other people too.
Are you in Texas, Erin?
I am.
So I'm just above you, probably maybe 3 or 4 hours. If you know of anybody else in Missouri who would possibly want to rent to somebody like me, I have my own camper, and I would just need maybe like electric, water, and I would be able to pay them rent money. But I really don't feel safe where I'm at right now.
No, I understand that. Let me give you a phone number of a friend of ours that's in Missouri. His name is Darrell, Darrell. He's made several videos on our channel. And do you have a pen?
I do.
417-388-9595. And if you just search on our channel for his name's Darrell McClanahan. He's a Christian. He's a really good guy, and he's up there in Missouri, and he's wide awake to all of this stuff. And it would be good to know somebody local on your side.
I had spoke to Connie. Do you know Connie? She's 70 years old. That's who gave me you guys' name and number.
Great.
I talked to her for about a half hour to an hour last night. I kept her up late, I think.
Yeah. We love her.
Yeah, and then I met another lady by the name of Penny who was at a rally in regards to Jeffrey Winehouse and a few other people.
Oh, were you the guy in the wheelchair there?
What's that?
There was a guy there in a wheelchair on video.
You're asking me if that was me?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I can walk. I have a hard time walking.
Okay.
I have pain real bad, but I can walk, and I do things like, I'm remodeling my camper real slowly.
Uh-huh.
One of the things that my current landlord did is he brought a trailer here, a different, newer camper, and I've taken out all the stuff out of that old one over the last month here, and I'm still doing it. And it's got new windows, it's got a refrigerator, it's got the wiring system, the stove. So I do this stuff little by little. And that's one of the reasons why they say that I'm not disabled. But
I see.
the truth of the matter is that they found me to be disabled when I was 21 years old, and I didn't find out about that until I was 37.
Huh.
I went on to have several of my own businesses up until I was about 30 when I started getting disability. I started having really bad nerve damage, nerve pain, and they gave me disability almost immediately. And they said it was, they said I had affective disorder and degenerative back problems. Well, I never had no mental health issues. And I called them up and I said, listen, I've never had any mental health issues. And they're like, well, we just had to write that down, they said.
Huh.
So that's Social Security lying.
Yeah.
And all while I became disabled, Social Security knew about it. They knew that I was being tested, and they knew that I was being left untreated. So they definitely, at bare minimum, tried to shorten my life. Because if you get bone erosion and nerve damage, and you're left untreated for no medical care, well, that at bare minimum shortens a person's life.
Yeah. It's diabolical.
So it's pathetic how they intentionally gave me bone erosion and nerve damage, and now they're trying to deny it.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're able to do this without any accountability.
Yep. You're right about that. I see a video here on your Facebook that's 15 minutes. It looks like Stockroom. Is that the video you're talking about?
What is it?
15-minute video on your Facebook?
There is
something about gloves moving, or it's
about
from
what?
I'm looking on your Facebook, and there's a video, and the video is dated January 23rd, 2011. Police, CO, Sheriff, 1 p.m.
Yeah, that's is that just a picture or is that a video?
Well, there's actually a video there too,
I didn't know that, but that is one of 3 videos, and in that picture, if you look at my pictures under your photos,
yeah,
look all the way to the right, that top one on the right.
Uh-huh.
There's 3 officers there, 2 in a brown shirt, 1 in a black shirt, and I'm the one in the middle sitting down. And that right there is when they're suffocating. You can see fuzzy gray area in the middle.
Yep.
Well, I got better pictures I'll send you. But, and even if you go to the next one on the next line, you can see the blue glove over my mouth and my nose on the next one.
Okay, all right. Well, that would be a good picture for this video. And this video, this audio that we're doing right now, this video that's playing is 15 minutes long, and it's on your Facebook.
Yeah, that's only one of 3 of them.
Okay.
It was actually, and there's 3 of them like that, and I have all 3 of them. And when I was at my trial, Erin, they had the video that was set up connected to the internet. They had it shut down and go out of sync like 5 different times.
Of course they did.
When the jury was seeing it.
Yep, that's what they do.
Now, if you look at the other pictures, you'll see one where my leg is sticking out.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the feet cuffs sinking into my ankle.
Yeah.
Now, once again, they said they weren't suffocating me at all.
Right.
And the judge let the police lie in court, and I ended up losing my 2 dogs. I lost a cat. I lost about 20 rabbits, 6 egg-laying chickens, my girlfriend, my house, my freedom. They all within like 2 weeks.
Your health.
They literally tried to destroy me.
Yeah.
So that I never recovered. And do you see a picture with me and my girlfriend?
I don't see that. No.
I'll tag you in that.
Okay. It shows your timeline is completely blank, which is very unusual. But if I go to photos, I see some red stars and just like maybe 20 pictures.
So you don't see anything on my timeline?
Nope. It's absolutely blank. All I can see is photos. And let's see if I can see friends. Nope, no friends. One mutual friend, which that's pretty normal. And the About section, it shows Wizard of Oz, Son of God, Bible, Missouri, stuff like that. That looks normal, but the timeline is just like... what do you call it? It's just kind of like fading, but it's blank.
I'm going to add you to my timeline. I'm looking at it right now. So you can let Rudy look at it if you want to. But yeah, I had that set that way.
Okay. I just sent you a picture of what your timeline looks like. Your profile.
Yeah, I had it set that way.
Huh, I've never seen that before. But okay, well, we should wrap this up because people don't like long videos and they won't listen if they see it's too long. So we'll wrap it up and we'll... do you want to say a prayer right now? I would love that.
Sure. Are you going to lead it?
No, you go right ahead and do it for us.
I can't. I don't know how.
Oh, come on. You're just talking to your Father. Dear Father in heaven above, Lord Jesus the Christ, we pray that you watch over Greg and you find some resolution for this problem that he's suffering down here against these reprobates from hell. And we know in your word that you are watching everything, including the little sparrow, and you know every hair on our head, and you know what's going on down here. And we know that your ways are higher than our ways. And we trust you, Jesus, that you have purpose and meaning for all that goes on down here, and we really look forward to the day that justice comes to these reprobates. In the meantime, we will obey and we will be obedient to your word, and we will look forward to your coming in the clouds, and we really enjoy serving you, God, knowing that you have us, and we are not going to fear these reprobates because they have no power that you don't allow them to have. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Hey, I do know about the 2 sparrows, though. I will tell you that. But I've never ever led a prayer.
What?
I've always listened. Yes, that is the truth.
Well, you need to work on that because that's maybe what he's waiting for.
I have read the Old and the New Testament over 15 times. But that's going to count for something.
Yeah, that's good because the problem is every time somebody's fearful, that is an insult to God.
Yeah.
He tells us 365 times, I think it is, not to fear. And the fear is the only thing that's allowing these reprobates to make their way. They've got everybody. When people saw the Twin Towers falling down, that's when the fear set in and they just laid down and became apathetic and let all this nonsense go on.
I don't have fear.
Praise God.
I I probably have a very unhealthy way of not having any fear.
Me too.
Yeah, there's some of us like that, like the Gideon, what your husband talked about.
Yeah.
But, no, I do appreciate talking with you. Nice meeting you too, Erin.
You too, Greg. We'll stay in touch. The best way to reach me is through chat on Fedbook.
Okay. I have chatted with you a couple different times, but it was brief.
Okay.
But, yeah, I'll be in touch.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
I'll send you a picture. I'll let you see a picture. I'll add you to a picture of me and my girlfriend.
Okay, well, send me whatever you want to be the thumbnail for this audio.
I guess I don't have anything in mind. I don't really want my picture of me and my girlfriend to be used.
No. Okay. Well, I don't really want to put that profile picture, so maybe just your email and maybe MRSA. Why don't we put, because the topic is kind of MRSA, bioweapon MRSA or something.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay, sounds good. I'm not editing. I never edit. I'm not an editor, so it's just going to go up raw. That's how we do it.
You don't like my profile picture, Erin?
Well, no, I think it's good, but it's not really the topic. The topic is really MRSA.
I think some of this stuff is fake. You know, I don't know if they really shot that guy. I did see the video that is part of. But they do appear to shoot that guy and kill him.
Yeah, I don't know what to believe anymore except for the Bible.
Right. Well, you do have a good day, Erin. Nice talking with you.
Okay, Greg, thank you for calling. God bless you, brother. We'll see you on the finish line, and I look forward to that day.
Yeah, God bless you too, Erin.
Bye.
Your husband is...
Okay, bye-bye. Okay, you guys heard from Greg. And if you are led, please send him an email and let him know how you can pray for him and support him in this terrible travesty he has been suffering.